themselves in an awfully familiar spot. Down 0-2 in a series. This time, though, it's not Luka they got to stop, but Donovan Mitchell. 37 points last night. He had 45 in Game 1. Jazz led by as many as 21 in this one. They had to rally late, though, for the win, but it was a win. So, Broussard, let us focus on the Clippers, though. Can they now come back from yet another 0-2 deficit?
First of all, Jenna, I don't know when they became my Clippers again. All right? I specifically remember last week saying, I won't be so obnoxious to reclaim them. They are Brandon's Clippers. He's got to stick with them. But no, to answer your question, can they? Can they? Yes. But I'll admit, after what I saw last, series with them, I won't write them off. But I'm skeptical. And history is against them. There's no team in NBA history has ever come back from multiple 2-0 deficits in the same postseason. So the history is very much against them. And I have to admit, the eye test is against them right now. Obviously, you mentioned Donovan Mitchell having his way, right? Having his way. The thing is this. Last series, Luka had his way, but Luka was the only player they had to worry about that could break down their defense with dribble penetration. Yeah. Now in Utah, you got Donovan Mitchell, yes. But last night you also have Jordan Clarkson. He had 24 points, and he was able to get what he wanted. And that's not even to mention Mike Conley potentially coming back. So there's that. Secondly, Kawhi Leonard, 22 points, 47% shooting in the series. Solid, but they need Kawhi to be dominant. And he hasn't been able to do it. And I got to shout out Bojan Bogdanovic, because he was in Kawhi's jock last night. So give him credit. He defended him well. You don't really see that type of one-on-one defense a lot anymore, so I have to give him credit. Third, Rudy Gobert's presence. Nick has dissed Gobert every chance he gets, but last night he showed you why he is the deserving defensive player of the year. He is deterring the Clippers from getting to the rim and in the paint, and in turn, that has also hurt their drive and kick game. So they had 11 threes last night. That's well below their season and postseason average. So that part of their game is hurting. And then fourthly, they went to the zone. And it went well, right? They were able to slow down Donovan Mitchell in the second half with that zone defense. Yeah. And they hustled. I give the Clippers credit. Their intensity, their urgency on the defensive end was there. But when they played with that urgency defensively against Dallas, they won. They did it against the Jazz, and they still lost. So I'm not going to write them off, but I admit I do think they're in trouble.
They're in huge trouble. And to amplify some of Broussard's points, you know how we know that Kawhi might be, and it's amazing, it's game 2 of the second round, but might be a little out of gas? When he lost a jump ball to Bojan Bogdanovic late in the game. Like, what? I mean, listen, we saw Kawhi. Game 6 Kawhi against the Clippers. He was really good game 7. Game 6 might have honestly been the best game of his entire career on both ends of the court. For some reason, though, he can't tap into that very often. Listen, Ty wants to play Kawhi and Paul George 44-plus minutes. He played Paul George the entire second half. He played Kawhi 38 minutes because that's all Kawhi can do. And I'm not taking a shot. Honest, I promise. I hope hard on Kawhi. His body does not allow him to do what we want him to do, which is guard Donovan, score 30, do it all, and try to assert yourself as the best player in the world. His body just won't let him do it. Brandon mentioned Paul George during the break. Like, is Paul George going to have a big game? He's not. And at this point, the expectations for Paul George have dropped so much. We're like, oh, he's not hitting the side of the backboard, so that's good. Fact of the matter is this. Since the first 3 games of these playoffs, so the last 6 games they've played, I should say, he's shooting, 36% from the field?
Right.
That ain't great. So that's their 2 top guys. And then the other thing, Broussard, and you mentioned this, I will give you credit, even though you slander me all the time saying I hate Rudy Gobert, I voted him second on the ballot, the NBA, return back to me. even during the year when you were flirting with your ex, the Clippers, your concern for them was their performance in the clutch. And last night, it looked like we were going to be able to go to bed early. The Jazz were up 21, and then the Clippers played perfect basketball on both sides to take the lead. Here were their offensive possessions after Reggie Jackson hit that three to give them the lead midway through the fourth. It's the following. Batum missed a three. Paul George got 2 free throws. Marcus Morris missed 3. Patrick Beverley missed 3. That Mark Jones says, oh, Beverley in rhythm. Mark, there is no in rhythm for Patrick Beverley. Doesn't exist. Marcus Morris missed another 3. Patrick Beverley short-armed a layup. Marcus Morris missed another 3. And now it's Jazz up by 10 and the game's over. And if you looked at, Brandon, their games against the Mavs, none of them were close late. They played well enough to blow it open late in the fourth quarter. Like, they don't execute late in these games. Kawhi's not taking the shots. Paul George isn't attacking. I think they are in big trouble, Brandon.
You know what? Look, I picked this team early in the year. You guys know that. And this is the first time I got to admit, man, that you're right. They're in trouble. When you looked at last night, man, you know, they were flat. And it was a brutal night for me watching them. They came out in the first game, and they dominated through 3 quarters. It looked like, I said it, it looked like the Jazz shouldn't have been on the same court as the Clippers. And then you turn on the game, and you're watching it, game 2, and it's just like, they turned it around. The Jazz was just the better team. I mean, you look at Paul George. Paul George is the key. Paul George, can we get 30-plus from Paul George? Can he contribute just a little bit more? Now, he's been solid all year. He's been really good all year. And then in the playoffs, he hasn't really shown up to be playoff P. I don't know if he's trying to be too conservative or not, but he needs to take the ball, take control of the game, and say, you know what, Kawhi? I got us this game. I got us. Whatever you chip in, that's just bonus. That's icing on top. I need to see that type of Paul George show up for this team to have a chance. But they did that last series against the Mavs. They had a less than a 20% chance to come out of that series down 0-2. They pulled it off against a better team, a team that's hungry, Donovan Mitchell, that is trying to put a stamp on his performance and his place in this game. I don't see them coming back. I really don't, if Paul George can't step up and contribute at a high level. Whilst there's so many people right now saying that Paul George, he doesn't deserve the super in front of his star. He may not even deserve either one, superstar. Right, like, can you please show up and take it to a whole nother level? This is the moment for Paul George. Now, it's going to be tough, but we'll see what happens moving forward.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's Paul George's fault. I don't think it's Kawhi's fault. I don't think it's Ty Lue's fault. I don't think it's Steve Ballmer's fault. Broussard, I think they're playing a perfectly built team. You're watching that game and you're like, unlike every other playoff team, where you look around and like, well, I know why you're good, but I also know your kind of fatal flaw. You've got too many stars, and Giannis, you're good, but your kind of game is limited. And like, you guys have some like sort of you kind of fold in the crunch time with the Clippers. I don't know about the Suns. Do they have enough experience? I look at the Jazz, and they remind me of like going into someone's house that an interior designer has done. Like, look at this. Everything is in exactly the right spot. It looks perfect. And when we look at NBA champions over the last, let's say, 30 years, you've seen sort of the superstar teams, the teams that have too many weapons. But then there's teams like the 08 Celtics were like, you guys, everybody knows their roles. Or like the Spurs. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. You've got the defensive stopper, you've got the superstar, you've got the 6-man, you got the guy knocking down shots. To me, that team looked flawless. Not like flawless, like so excellent, but like literally without flaws. Does this team remind you of any historical teams that have won the championship, or is it just me?
Well, first of all, let me ask you this. Are you predicting a championship now? You called them the perfect.
I don't know. That's why I'm shocked. But they just look so good. They look so balanced.
They look good. They look good. I won't pick them over Brooklyn, but they do look like a very good team. They're well put together. I'm going to say this, because Nick Wright and people of his ilk like to look back at the 90s.